Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the StarCraft 2 ESL Pro Tour Europe Edition. Today is June 15th. It's 9:38 in the morning in sunny Las Vegas, Nevada. And I'm your host, Nathanias, bringing you some StarCraft 2 Legacy of the Void. In the top right, we have the Naranja Terran player. That's Spanish for orange for all y'all non-Spanish speaking people out there. He's Koka. Press the wrong button. I meant to turn the camera, not move it. He is fantastic. He's a wonderful human being, and he is trying to cheese the ever-loving crap out of his extremely talented opponent. I love the Roblox Nexus. In the bottom left, he is Skillous. Yeah, they actually made this look different than a normal Nexus, and I love it. He's got a good set of skins for his forces. He's got the classic probe skin, the Eon Re Nexus. For those of you who live under a rock, we didn't talk about this in the first match, but a new war chest did drop for StarCraft 2, Legacy of the Void. So if you were thinking about getting back into StarCraft, if you were saying to yourself, Nathan, I can't play StarCraft unless I have goals. I can't play StarCraft unless I'm literally being rewarded for doing so. Well, for $10, you can get a whole set of skins for the race that you play. And for $30, I think it's $25, you can bundle all three. You get $5 discount if you buy all three races. Get those cool looking skins. Okay, actually the Nexus Crystal looks pretty dope on this one. I didn't even think about that. This gives me some weird, is that like Aetheryte? Yeah. This gives me some this gives me some Eorzean vibes, if you know what I'm saying. You know what I'm saying? Only cool people will get that reference. Everybody else, you probably have a life. So Skillous did probe scout, and he must be asking himself, where's the proxy? Where's the cheese? Where's that Tillamook sharp yellow cheddar? Where is that Kraft Singles American cheese product? Legally, I'm not allowed to call American cheese product cheese, because it's not. So he looks like, is this going to be Proxy Battlecruiser? Is that the play? No, Cyclone, maybe Cyclone Liberator, Proxy Cyclone Liberator, Proxy Tank, Marine Medevac. Okay, no, Cyclone Reactor. So he might have wanted him to think it was like just a regular old Proxy Reaper. The probe is going to find his opponent. His opponent's gonna, oh, there you go. So he finds the proxy. He knows what's up. And just to give some credit out there for anybody watching on the VODs or anybody tuning in that maybe doesn't know these players super well, Skillous is honestly, in terms of these cups, he's pretty regular at the top in terms of performance and results. He is an extremely good European Protoss player. He does give Terrans nightmares and Zergs nightmares. And he is one of those players that, in my honest opinion, can definitely be, I don't want to use the words dark horse, but he can definitely be one of those guys that just shows up and clowns a bunch of the best players. So he's going to send some extra SCVs out to repair, help keep his forces alive. That Cyclone is pretty lit and not in the fun sense. I do think the smart play would be to get that Cyclone repaired. It is a little bit too valuable given the circumstances, but he also doesn't really have time to wait. Koka, on the other hand, you may recognize him, and by that I mean, of course, you wouldn't recognize him, as one of the best observers in all of StarCraft. For quite a few tournaments, Koka would do the observing for our WCS matches and whatnot. I do believe that he accidentally became too ripped at the gym and now spends all of his spare time with extremely attractive women rather than observing StarCraft. So he is, I think he's actually on a rest break right now before he goes back to that. So he's playing in this tournament. So competitive expectations wouldn't set as high for, as say, a player like Skillous, but he is definitely an experienced veteran of the StarCraft scene. And honestly, I would love to see him take a map off Skillous, because it's very validating for everybody who works as talent or production or casters when somebody who isn't a pro is able to clap some pro cheeks, I should say. Now, 4 Stalkers are going to try and come deal with the proxy. A little bit of a supply block here. He's not able to build that next tank or Liberator, but the Stalkers are not in the main base, so gives him a little bit more firepower. Unfortunately, Koka sees this Dark Shrine, and he has to be wondering to himself, how exactly am I going to deal with this? So he's going to try and kill the Dark Shrine. I don't hate that, but on one base, you just don't have scans, and if he loses that starport, there is absolutely no way for him to get a Raven He is back to building that Liberator, but that scan's ending, and already another DT is there. So with a shield battery, he actually has enough energy for the battery overcharge. He's trying to kill the Dark Shrine, but he will not be able to do that. GG, Skillous takes game number 1. And he is of course, a very high-level Protoss player. I would definitely say, I definitely agree, and I believe that one of the best ways that you can deal with a Terran player who's proxying you like that, or trying to do any type of big one-base wind-up build, those types of strategies, usually the Terran player will pull a lot of SCVs, and you won't have a lot to really do in terms of like getting detection up. You only have one orbital, so you can only scan once every minute. A mule's cooldown is 64 seconds. It takes 65 seconds to get 50 energy, so every time that you scan when you're on one base, that is a minute off the clock, as they say in bloody England. Okay, we're loading into game number 2. Let's do it. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're loaded back in the second game of our best of 3 here. The second series that we're covering today for the ESL Pro Tour Europe. Just to let everybody know, the DreamHack Masters and ESL Pro Tour offline events have been shifted to online for this year. I think there is a tentative maybe on DreamHack Valencia, but I do know that this current week has been... The last couple of days have definitely seemed to see a bit of a resurgence in terms of COVID-related BS. So we may not be able to have that event offline, but the qualifiers for the first online DreamHack Masters event, which is supposed to be our big premier tournament, the qualifiers for that, I believe, are starting this week. I did apply to commentate those, and I got approved. So you should be seeing some Nathanias EPT casts and DreamHack Masters casts coming up, either for the qualifiers or for the main event. Personally, I have not been reached out to by ESL, Blizzard, or DreamHack about the online Masters Cups. And from what I've heard, other commentators have not as well. So honestly, I have no idea who's doing that. I do assume that they're going to have a lot less budget available for casters or whatever. So... it's possible they only have like 2 or 3 guys doing it, which, well, let's just face it. Let's just face it. I'm not as handsome as Rotterdam. So we do have Skillous with that probe scout, confirming this time that it's not a proxy. Says, okay, there's Barracks. He's going to build a Marine. He's not going to go for a Reaper. He just builds one Marine and then builds the reactor. Oh, he cancels it. Interesting play. Oh, it's a tech lab. Oh, it's a tech lab. So he must be thinking to himself, Now, what's important to note... oh, this is the warping animation for that Nexus. It's got a little green glow on it. Interesting. What's important to note here is we've got this Adept coming out, but this was a pretty standard PvT opening, right? We've seen so many more Protoss players getting that Cybercore timed out way earlier to try and get, like, denial on an early command center. But this seems like a counterplay. I mean, he's going for the Marauder with concussive shells and another barracks. Concussive shell research is pretty fast, only about 40 seconds. Marauders can win 1v1 against any Protoss gateway unit in the early game with concussive shell. It gets a bit trickier if you have like 2 stalkers that can do weird micro or whatever, but if a Marauder just A moves across the open field and hits anything, it's pretty much guaranteed to die, barring a really fast reaction from the Protoss player and a good play on top of that. So Skillous, he has his natural going. He's feeling pretty good about himself, and he's going to go to a Twilight Council to follow this up. For those of you who may have missed it, Parting is basically the last guardian of Protoss at the highest level right now, with Classic being gone in the military. And in this GSL run versus Terran, we saw a pretty impressive amount of Blink Stalker play. Those proxy marauders cleaning the map up, you could say. And he definitely will want to find this. He's being proxied in his third base with a Dark Shrine and a Gateway. So he wants to have that warp in to be able to rebuild and build those forces very quickly. There's not many reasons why you would check your third as a Terran in this situation, because usually there might be like a scouting unit. But the Twilight Council, it looks like that parting build where he goes for the fast Cyber Core before the Nexus. You get Blink and just a ton of Stalkers and just drown your opponent in Blink Stalkers. But that's not what's going to happen this game. And if you're preparing for that or thinking about that with this early Marauder play with Concussive, you could be in a lot of trouble. He is going to get an eBay for that early +1. And I like this a lot, actually. There's no factory. There's no starport. This build reminds me very heavily of, was it TY who did this? There was a Terran player who did a build like this recently at a pretty high level and was very successful with it, where they just kind of tried to crap out those racks really fast. He does have turrets in each base. So these DTs, depending on where the units are, he should be able to deal with them. I don't think this turret will have vision, though. I don't believe this turret will have vision. He can't get stim or anything like that. He's going to move in right as the bio leaves. So this is actually going to hurt him a lot. If he stims to run home and defend against this, then he's actually, yeah, he's going to kill his own unit. So there you go. The SCVs try to wrap around the turret to protect it. But he's already losing a ton of his economy. And there's that scan in the middle. There's that first stim. Those stims. Now remember, he didn't get a factory. He was just going to try and do this bio bloodbath boil build of bodacious debauchery. That's the word. That's the word. Those are the words that I've chosen to describe the situation with. So yes, he has scans. Yes, he has turrets. That's all nice and dandy. But the only mobile detector unit that Terran can even build is the Raven. And he just started his factory. So we're very far away from having mobile detection, which means that on 2 bases, he doesn't really have enough scans to leave his base. And guess what? Skillous doesn't even care about that, because he is just pumping out tons of zealots. I think that's the plan here. He's still mining some gas in his main, but he hasn't taken it in his natural. There's no third. He's just got a lot of charged zealots, and he's coming, rumbling and tumbling now. This is Terran Bio with stim and +1 attack. He shoots his own refinery. Does 200 damage to his own refinery, unfortunately. And with that +1, he's able to clean the zealots up. So Koka doing a fantastic job at staying alive. I have to tell you, I did like his build choice, but the specific weakness to that DT opener was very real. However, he gets the weird side benefit back now. If he can just keep those units off of him, at least the bunker can be repaired. Those +1 Marines do a lot of damage to these zealots. There's not a tremendous number of them, but as the CVs do get pulled off the line, it does look like Skillous will be able to break through and take this series 2-0, but a well-fought effort by Koka. GG.